Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. As the climate is changing very fast, it means new seasons, new heat zoning, temperatures and everything. And with that you need to adjust varieties of different crops, especially the staple grain. Wheat is one of them, rice and other staple grain as well. Pakistan is an agriculture country. Obviously food security largely depends on these varieties, but now it has become stipulated to change if not variety then new varieties, and all the sowing season and other matters related to the agriculture. We have today with us Dr. Iftikhar Ahmad, who is chairman of the NARC, and he is one of the in his present capacity he is the principal scientist who is dealing with all these matters, plus giving the administrative guideline to the new research and the new mechanism to cope with this. Doctor, very warm welcome.
Thank you.
How your institution is coping with it? What do you think? What is the new remedies for basically to secure the food security?
We have talked about climate change, and climate change is not just about crop varieties. It is affecting you as a whole life is going to be affected. So the people themselves are going to be very badly affected. The temperatures which rise, we just saw how in Karachi things are happening, the temperatures are going very high. That means in future we'll have to have not only the crop varieties but also the livestock, fisheries, having such germplasm that can tolerate heat. And for that you have to prepare yourself. Unfortunately, if you look back in Pakistan, we have been far behind in accepting the climate change in the first place. But once we did that, we are most progressive because we have now instituted the climate change ministry. And now we also have the climate change policy as well. If you look, in most of the regions in Pakistan, the climate is already arid and high temperature. So when we are breeding, for example, crop varieties, the stress tolerance is one of the most important factors we are already keeping in mind. So if you look at parts of Balochistan, parts of Sindh, parts of Punjab, we already have, take an example of wheat. So we are testing on a very large scale initially when we are developing the germplasm. So the breeders give their materials to PRC, and PRC tests these varieties, the elite materials, over 45 different locations throughout Pakistan. That include all these areas which are high temperature areas and which have stress of water as well. So because we have zoning of the areas, we already developed materials in these zones. For example, in Balochistan, most of the varieties that are tested in those areas there is water stress and also heat stress. In parts of Punjab as well we do the same. But when it comes to particularly the fruits and vegetables, there it's important for us to really look into these things in depth. We must move from high delta fruit plants to low delta fruit plants, and there are a large number of them which are already tested in Pakistan and are being grown.
For example,
I can give you example of olive, of grapes, of pistachio, for example falsa, anjeer, which is pomegranate. All these are
low delta fruit.
Fruit plants, and they all can be promoted in Pakistan, and we are promoting those.
What about this apricot and peach and all this? And plums?
Plums. They also have varieties which can be grown in dry areas as well.
At the same altitude?
In the same altitudes. But for them, because they do not fall under the very low delta crops, you would have to then use technology, and the technology is available, and that is high efficiency irrigation systems. where you can have bubble irrigation, you can have, you know, the furrow irrigation.
If I'm not wrong, these fruits are growing in the area which is not irrigated most of the time.
Yes, but they are dependent on rains.
Right.
But as you know, with the climate change, the rain patterns are also going to change.
Yes.
In fact, they have already changed. We have been oblivious of that, but that has happened already. So, large areas of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Fata, Balochistan, they are already experiencing very low rains. Also, the rains do not come in the normal season as they used to come. So, what we'll have to do is combine, develop germ plants which can absorb shocks. At the same time, have these technologies coupled with that,
So
which can aid.
So it's a massive footwork. Are we doing it? I mean, that is a scientific premise which are you giving.
Yeah.
Have we moved forward and done some footwork on that as well?
Yes, as I said, we are already into multiplying, for example, olive on a very large scale. With Italian assistance, we have tested Italian varieties throughout Pakistan. The adaptability trials have been done, and now we have a flagship project from the government of Pakistan
On olives.
on olives. Similarly, government of Punjab also has its own olive project, and we are going on a massive scale. In this new project, we are going to cover 57,000 acres under olive. Similarly, if you look at now grapes, the Pothwar is becoming the
Grape area. But how are you
grape
going to
area.
use grapes? Because world over, where the grapes are, there are wineries. But
Well,
in Pakistan, it doesn't seem
we are
it's possible.
going. We are not developing grapes which are used for wine. We are, we have tested. For example, PRC has been the pioneer. Most of the varieties that we are testing, they are for table purposes. So, I mean, there are large population which needs table grapes.
Table grapes. But are you suggesting that these peaches and plums and apricot, they will be in a short supply?
Not in short supply. In fact, the supply is increasing because people are putting more orchards. In fact, we really need to move away from the traditional crops and go towards horticulture. Because that will also help change your microclimates as well.
Right. And what about the staple grains, staple crops?
In staple crops, for example, let me give you an example of wheat.
Yeah.
At the moment, if we put our policy right, and if we reduce the cost of production, already the varieties which we have, their potential is 80 months. And farmers, progressive farmers who can, afford, but there are very few left actually who can afford, because we have energy crisis, we have, water crisis, the fertilizer. The cost of production of the farm is very high. You can produce the same amount of wheat from half the area. So rest of the area can go to fruit plants. That can also help change. That can be put on efficient irrigation systems, and you can earn more rather than spending so much on area on just wheat. The same thing can be done in case of sugarcane. Why only sugarcane? We have already tested sugar beet, and sugar beet is only a 3 months crop. Sugarcane is a 9 months crop. Why spend
But
so
it
much?
has the same amount of sucrose and all.
Yes, of course, it's there
Even
are
better.
people are practicing that, and we have tested that on a very large area now, in association with the Mohit Sugar Mill in DI Khan, where they have dual processor, both sugarcane and sugar beet, and they are doing sugarcane, but at the same time, the farmers in that area, 7,000 acres are under sugar beet. So the difference is only that in case of sugar beet, you cannot keep sugar beet for long, and it has to be near the mill,
Near the factory.
near the factory, and it is the factory which actually can have contract farming and do that. as compared to sugarcane.
Sugar.
So why we want to spend so much energy on
roads
sugar?
would be free, transportation cost would be gone,
yes.
and that accident and trolleys, then that would
I mean, all other issues are corollary, but the main thing is why we are wasting our water
be on sugarcane.
on
Yes.
sugarcane when we can have one from sugar beet.
Yes.
The Khyber Pakhtunkhwa has been growing sugar beet, and there were 2 sugar mills, but because they have become
Sugar
the
beet
old-
is not water intensive.
because it's only 3 months crop.
Right.
Just
Yeah,
compare the total amount of
Yeah,
water.
totally.
There will be, uh, much less requirement. The same thing is for rice. I mean, of course, we take pride in basmati, and there is a certain area. But look at the hybrid rice, and look
Hybrid
at
of brown and basmati, Sela
the.
and
No,
basmati.
no, I'm not talking of basmati now. I'm talking of the iri type.
Iri type.
And you see the production is 100 mans, 110 mans.
But
And
it is good? I mean,
it is good.
its kernel is good. And
Well, if you look at the total export of Pakistan, the
Rice.
export of coarse rice is much more than
and the other one.
the basmati. The basmati goes, of course, to a ethnic market. I mean, less amount, of course, fetches more money, but you can produce more rice, on a very large area which you have in Sindh. Why to spend so much area on just basmati?
In Sialkot and all.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can actually, you have to look your food security, and look why you want to waste your water. You can choose areas.
It's a major footwork which you need to be done.
I mean, it is the not on the part of the research. It is primarily on the part of the policy that you say that, okay, do you want to continue to grow wheat on a very large area while you can get the same amount of wheat for your growing population from half an area
Right.
by giving more incentives? I mean, yes, we are a signatory to WTO, and there are certain things, subsidies we cannot give, but there are certain subsidies which you can give under the green box subsidy, and you can support your farmers in many different ways.
Right. So here we take a short break, and after the break we'll discuss the topic threadbare, more interesting, tentacles and the crawleries attached to it. So please stay with us.
It's diverse.
It's original.
It's SDTV.
Welcome back. What amount of research is there that needs to go into that? Do you think it's a very massive research undertaking that need to be done for that?
That is dilemma for Pakistan. The today's world is a world of knowledge, of innovations. Unfortunately, we in Pakistan are still far behind in investing in research. And when I say investment is not just the government but also the private. If you compare the investment in agricultural research, we are far behind in the whole region. Pakistan spends far less than even Nepal
On extension.
on agriculture research.
Research extension.
I'm not talking of extension. I'm just talking of
About the main research.
main
All
research.
right.
So we are spending far less than, although we know that the internal rate of return which has been calculated is far higher than any other sector. And if you invest in innovation in research, you will get products that are able to give you return in very short span of time. I mean, if you put an industry, it takes a very long time to give you return. In case of agriculture, you just can have output after 3 months
3 months. In a single season.
in a single season. So it's not something which is beyond imagination. And also, because you have large tract of agriculture, I don't need to go into figures that a large mass of Pakistani population is dependent on, on agriculture. And the World Bank's data clearly shows that if you invest, $1 on agriculture in rural areas, it is much more paying and significant in reducing poverty than $2 to $3 spent in other areas. At the same time, also, this is now well-known fact that if you spend in rural areas, the income of the urban areas automatically goes up. Because you see, because the people in rural areas, they go back to cities and spend over there because they have to buy things. And even the, if you talk of the agriculture inputs, they eventually come from there. So investment making in agriculture as such, is much more profitable and much more sensible to reduce poverty in Pakistan and to spur the economic growth. Let me give you example of, the Prime Minister's Youth Program loan scheme. And we are a handholder in that scheme. We are interacting with all the loanees who have got the loans, and we provide them guidance. When we were given data, 70%, the applicants were from the rural areas, and most of they were from the livestock. So you can imagine that for becoming entrepreneurs, it is the youth from the rural areas who are really keen to become entrepreneurs. And
Right.
It's much easier.
So you have established two things. One is policy and the other is research. And on policy, you have mentioned that the government is doing some work, and
Yes.
already, the government, the power corridors accepted it. But in research, there are difficulties. What are the difficulties? Let's talk about the NARC, because it's a principal organization that do research, and all other research is even either a corollary or in some way attached like a chandelier to it. So what are your difficulties?
Well, let me say that in the first place, in spite of the fact that government is very keen to spend, resources are less, so investment is a major question.
Investment is a major question.
Major question. You have to make investment in research, and as I said, we are not that far ahead. Then, institutional structures are very important for research. And if you establish institutional structures and then do not take care of them, then this is a mistake. If you spend 100 rupees and then you just need to have 10 rupees operational, if you don't do that, you are wasting
the entire investment.
Entire investment. And the researcher is something very different from, for example, a property dealer or somebody who is selling something in the market. For that, you don't need that much
Right.
Input, but preparing a researcher requires a huge investment. And once he's prepared, and if you don't take care of him, he's lost.
It's a very topical issue. It's a current issue. What is the issue behind that land? When I say it's a land grabbing by CDA and the NARC, are they not compensating you at some other place?
NARC, as I said, the issue has been that it has a lease. The area was
expiring.
Area was given for agriculture research. So in 1975, we had a lease agreement, 30 years, with stipulation that there will be two
Automatic
other
extensions.
tenures extendable. So the first agreement expired in 2005, and it has not been renewed. It's not been cancelled, it's not been renewed. And we have been paying the lease money to the CDA. We have paid until 2015, and suddenly we have come to know through our ministry that they want to convert into a housing society, and they have put up a summary through cabinet division to the Prime Minister, and that is what is the contention is. As I said, it's very difficult in the first place to establish institutions and then to maintain them. NARC is a premier institution that took a lot of midnight oil to first conceive, and this is the only organization throughout Pakistan which is multi-commodity and multi-subject. So you talk of any agriculture expert that is available at NARC. So there are people in horticulture, there are people in livestock, there are people in crops, there are people in irrigation management, there are people in soils, there are people even in social sciences which know how to deal with communities and all that, and they are working in conjunction. One of the major importance of this institution is that it is across the provinces and it tackles national issues, and it has laboratories which have been established over 40 years.
It's a long process.
It's a long process
and everything.
And then once the laboratories are established, then the research starts in those laboratories. What NARC has contributed and why it's very difficult now to shift it, because it's not an ordinary institution that has been developed. CDA says that by making it a housing society, we will be able to have 150 billion rupees. Out of this, because they say that a developer, a private developer will be involved, he will not take money, but in lieu of that he will take plots. But the summary doesn't mention how many plots, how much it is that the government will get. So that's very strange about
It's very tricky.
It's very tricky because it doesn't tell that.
It's not transparent.
Yes. The second thing is, if you look at, we have already spent 100 billion on development of this institution. So do you have those 100 billions at the moment available immediately? And how long it will take to even redevelop all that?
And the amount of damage that would be
and all that money has not come from just Government of Pakistan. The facilities which have been developed here has come from many contributors, international partners, USAID, World Bank, JICA. And once you disturb the science, how long it will take to on a new location to get back to that impetus. So just look at how much we have already spent it, and now let me come what we are giving. It's not the people don't understand what science is all about. It's not just putting some seed in the soil where you just need a piece of land. Just look at our National Poultry Reference Laboratory. It is a laboratory which is a reference laboratory for the whole of the region that has been established. And if you look at the disease bird flu, it is rampant all across Pakistan, but Pakistan is bird flu free. Why? Because this is the laboratory which provides surveillance throughout Pakistan. It is linked with
quarantines
and quarantine all that. And based on that, every year the poultry industry is informed how much change is taking place in the viruses and how they need to put up a new vaccine for that. And this is the only part. And that's why you have today, such a big poultry industry in Pakistan. And, it is because of this reference laboratory that today your ban has been lifted on the Middle East and all that. So, if you immediately want to shift it, how long, it will take again.
Demolish it.
And it is a BSL-3 lab, which, you need accreditation and all that for that. and it doesn't happen just in 1 year. It has taken us so many years to reach that level, to come to the international standards, that this laboratory is recognized world over, and we are providing assistance to all the countries around Pakistan from this laboratory. So I'm just giving one example. Look at another example. We have this food sciences laboratory. This is the only accredited laboratory in Pakistan which provides support you to your trade. So all the pesticides, MRAs, the other pathogens, the food safety, these are all tested here in this laboratory. And you know how long it has taken to reach that level and to become accredited. And accreditation takes place every year. The international auditors would come every year and check your processes, check your building, check your instruments, and the staff, the human resource that is there. When you displace people, do you think they will remain there?
They will not.
They will not be there. Many of them will leave. You already see IDPs in Pakistan. What happens, the trauma and all that. So if you think that if you shift, would you have this laboratory available to support your trade? Russia banned our potatoes, and it is these laboratories who provided all the testing and all that. And within 1 month, their auditors came, they saw these laboratories, and they said, yes, you have international laboratories which can provide us all those analysis, and they lifted ban on potatoes. Same thing happened in citrus. If you look at mango, these are the laboratories which are providing support to mango export. If you look at mango, we had, India had ban, and Pakistan was shown yellow card, and they said if there are 5 rejections, we'll put a ban. But these are the laboratories who provided analysis that our mango is free of the pesticides, because they want, on the one hand, fruit fly free, but at the same time, if you control fruit fly with pesticides, they will not accept it. So they want a certificate that your mango is free of emerald. So these are the laboratories which provide support, and these laboratories are not just one that you just build house in 3 months and will be operative. It has taken a long time to reach that level that these laboratories provide you support.
Right. Here we take another break, and obviously it's an interesting topic. We'll discuss more and try to conclude, try to arrive at recommendation and conclusions. So please stay with us.
It's diverse.
It's original.
It's SDTV.
Welcome back. So, in a nutshell, what are the conclusions? What do you say? You want to stay here, and are you saying that it will have a major blowback and negative impact on agriculture and other activities as well?
Of course, what I am saying is that all the research activities will be disturbed, which are already going on. This center has already contributed more than 2,000 billion rupees worth of investment, but you are talking of just 150 billion. And the new technologies that the center is developing, in the next 5 years, they are going to give you more than 600 billion rupees. Are you going to compare this with that? And let me also talk about the conclusion. This is a park area. Of course, modifications done in 2010 allow you to also build housing societies in this area. But where does it mention that you will destroy your institutions? It only says you can build, but where the space is available. It doesn't say that you will, wind up the existing institutions. Just on the, keeping this area green, is much more important, because they say the hub of the commercial and the land use in terms of societies has become this area. It becomes much more important to keep green, this central area green, because
it's very close to the downtown Islamabad.
downtown. And at the moment, the carbon footprint is very low. We have just made the calculations of carbon footprint. If you have a housing society in that area, and if you continue to do, the amount of carbon that will be generated is a huge impact on the environment and on the climate.
And on the city
on the city itself. The episode that has happened in Karachi would also happen in Islamabad more frequently. And this city will become, a city where it will be difficult to live.
Have you explained all these things, threadbare to the people who matter in the power corridors?
You see, my job is to explain to my ministry, and we have done that. And we have answered in response to the summary that has been put forward.
In writing you have informed.
And we have informed that.
Have you given some presentation in front of some standing committee of the parliament and all?
We have invoked our board of governors, and they have unanimously passed a resolution that this summary must be rejected. We have also requested the standing committee
on environment.
No, our own standing committee on food security, and they gave a date to us, but then because our minister is at the moment outside the country, they said let him come, because he has shown keen interest that he would himself like to present the case of NARC to the standing committee and to the higher ups. So we are using.
You are hopeful.
Of course, as far as the government is concerned, we are very clear that it's a very visionary government, and they would not go with this very myopic idea that the CD has
with the tunnel vision
that CD has put forward. In fact, we are rather upset because we are partner with CDA, and in fact we have just demonstrated very new technology of cleaning the sewage water of the city, which is going to the peri-urban area, and it is used for growing crops. And you can see the fecal matter that is going, and that is goes to these crops, and it sits to that, and then it comes back to the city. So we have developed a new technology, bioremediation technology, using plants to remediate these, and it's a very cheap technology. And first we demonstrated it at NARC using Chak Shahzad's water, and you can go and see that. We have also done with our laboratories, and more recently we signed an MOU with the CDA, and we have bioremediated the water of rose and jasmine nala, which comes from all the way the cross section of the city. And
but still
it is there.
No,
if you go and have a look at it.
Okay.
Please go, and we'll
gone there for a long time.
No, you haven't gone.
It used to be very dirty.
But now go and see what we have done that. And we have spent our money on that to show to CDA that we can do it for you. This is the first demonstration. Now we are actually helping them in the F9 park on a similar activity, and we are ready to actually help them with all these sewage water very cheaply to really bioremediate so that the water goes clean, and then when it goes, it is used for
go to the natural body of water.
Similarly, we have signed an MOU in which we are, on the Margala Hills, we are developing this Margala honey. We have developed a joint brand by putting, honeybees there. And
it's organic honey.
It's organic honey.
Or some
no, it's organic honey.
Or sugar is put there, and they feed
this
on
is also a misconception, because the time perhaps would not allow me to go into details. This is a misconception. You know, honey bee produces honey for herself, not for you. So when you deprive the honeybee of that honey, a time comes when there are no flowers. So at that time, when you have taken all the honey which she is going to consume, then you have to feed her to remain alive during the non-flowering period.
All right.
So that is something different. So it is misunderstood. What we, that is honey, you know.
But honey is always organic.
Organic.
Right. So, thank you very much, Doctor, for coming to the program. Dr. Iftikhar Ahmad has highlighted very important. It's not shifting of land, although the climate change has stipulated some change in policy and the research. But this land grabbing is very bad, and that can have very negative connotation for the development. And even fiscally and financially, it's a bad decision, because you'll destroy billions of rupees to get a far less amount, and which is not even clear. So obviously it's a very vital cause. With this we come to the end of the program. Next time, next guest, next topic. So please keep watching our programs.